got an inquiry from an ELCA publication called Seeds for the Parish, which comes out monthly, designed for you, parish leaders. And they said, would you do an article on stewardship? I think that what they asked was stewardship in a changing church. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I thought about it for not very long, and I decided that better not to have just my voice, which is not the reflection of a changing church as much as a church that's been around for a long time. So we talked about it, and we decided, let's do this together. So we posed some questions for ourselves and then answered them, each from our own perspective, in that article. And the questions are the ones that are up here. So we just went, kind of like the book, actually, just going back and forth with those questions.
So what we're going to do this morning is go through those questions just from the perspective of Chick and I. And again, we don't believe we represent everybody, but I hope that in this conversation, you'll see some of the differences that we share. And those of you who were here, differences that are, things that are different, things that are the same. And those of you that were here yesterday know we share a lot of things in common around stewardship, but there are still some differences up here.
So let me just jump in before, because it's not my turn, but I want to let's do the age thing, because we have some fun with this. Half of the year, I'm 40 years older than Grace. And half of the year, I'm 39 years older than Grace. We are now in my happy half of the year. But come June, we will be in Grace's happy half of the year. Okay, go ahead.
So the first question that we ask is, how do you give? And Chick, I'm going to let you get started.
I'm a check writer for church. I pay most of my bills electronically. But I still like the act of sitting down Saturday night, usually, maybe Sunday morning, writing out that check. And sometime tomorrow morning, my wife will sit down and write out that check, because I won't be there. But we both enjoy that act. And for me, it's part of the worshipful act of making my offering to write out that check.
So I have to be honest with you guys, I'm not even sure where my checkbook is at the moment. And I'm a very responsible person. It's not because I lose things. It's because I don't use it enough to know where it is. I know it's somewhere safe, but that's about all I know. For me, I'm one of the biggest fans of electronic giving you will ever meet. I love that my congregation is receiving a check every month, whether I'm in church that week or not. They are receiving that check. And I know that that is going to the work in the world there. For those of you who were here last night, you heard Chick's story about tithes and offerings and about being able to write that check, and sometimes being a little bit disgruntled about writing that check, knowing that they were at a time where they were a little bit low on cash, and that might be the last check they could write for a little bit, and that was a frustrating experience. For me, knowing that this money comes out of my account, I think it's on the 20th of every month, right around the time that my husband and I get our checks coming in, allows me to know that my money is coming out first. It's something that I set and forget and I consider every year as my congregation invites me to, and I increase it when I'm able to. And that gives me so much excitement to know that money is going to a place where my heart is, and I don't really have to think about it. It comes out like some of my other bills do, which I know sometimes offends people to think about it that way. Paying the church, giving your money to the church shouldn't be like a bill. Except that's the way that I pay for everything. I like that it's automated. It allows me to give first from my heart rather than giving out of what's left over. All right, let's take a look at the next one.
I talked yesterday about duty and delight. For me, those two words really work well. That I'm motivated for my giving by a healthy sense of duty. That this is what the child of God does. And that's an important motivator for me. That if I wasn't living a generous life, I'd be living less of a life than God expects of me. But it's also delightful. And that check that I write to the church, the checks that I write to other organizations that we support, are just fun to write. They're just absolutely fun. I don't get so, it's not such a thrill to write my check to Verizon or to Comcast. Those you do because you have to. But these, yes, it's a duty, but it's an incredible delight as well. And so those are my motivators.
Absolutely, and for me, it's about duty and delight, but there's a couple of words that go along with this as well. As we talked about yesterday, mission is really important, and in my life, it is extremely important for me to know what the mission of the organization is, and how that money I'm giving is making a difference. As I mentioned, I learned about stewardship in seminary. That was a time where I didn't have a lot of money. I think the only time that I was poorer than that was when I was working at a summer camp and I didn't get my check until the end of the summer. So you were pretty much just eating whatever was in the fridge on the weekends and hoping that it was still good. This case for me was so important when I was in seminary, of knowing that my money was going to make a difference, because I had so little money to give. I wanted to know that the place that I gave my $20 would be using that $20 well. And a place that I settled on, I'm not sure if it's out here on the East Coast as well, it's a place called Feed My Starving Children. Maybe some of you have heard of it before. But it's a hunger organization that sends bags of food across the world to those who are in need. And something that I found really interesting about them is they could tell me exactly how much a bag of food costs. And so for me, I knew that it was around 30 cents, and that $20 was going to feed a lot of people. I knew that that money I was giving made a difference. It wasn't just another drop in the bucket, so to speak. It actually had some value coming along with it. I knew that that money was going towards things that I cared about. So for me, mission and making a difference comes up on other nonprofit organizations, but it also comes up when I think about the church. And we'll talk more about this afternoon. I think it's really important that we are who we say we are. We put a mission and vision together. We should be living that out with the way that we're using our money. And that type of transparency and continuity is very important to me.
I'm an institutional giver. By that I mean, I like to give to and through institutions that I have a history with and that I trust. This is changing a little bit in my wife's and my giving now, but it's still predominantly the case that even if we want to support the local food shelf, we would rather write the check to our church and then have the church give that money to the local food shelf. Part of that, I think, is we trust our church. It's not that we don't trust the local food shelf, but we trust that the church will do with that money what we want done with that money. But we also want our church to get credit for that gift. So if somebody's keeping track, and I don't even know if they are, but if somebody's keeping track somewhere, how much money to Cross has come from Lord of Life Lutheran Church, I'd like that number to be larger rather than smaller. And I know if I give through my institution, through my congregation, I'll get credit for it, to whatever extent that's important in terms of taxes and stuff. But more importantly, my congregation's going to get credit for it. We also are big supporters of other institutions that have played an important part in our lives. I mentioned yesterday that we support the college where we both attended and where we met, and where both of our kids went. So those long-standing institutional loyalties are really important to me because I trust the institutions, I believe in them, I have confidence that they're doing work that is important and that I want to support.
For me, it's all about the causes. It's so important to me, and I think that that's representative of others in my generation as well. I am just as likely to give to the Make-A-Wish Foundation as I am to give to a Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign that you might find online. For those of you who aren't familiar with Kickstarter or Indiegogo, those are crowdfunding platforms. They are online, and they were designed specifically for artists, for musicians, for little nonprofits that want to start up. It allows them the opportunity to put their mission out there and invite people to give in whatever form they're able to. Some give large gifts, but most of the time it's a lot of smaller gifts. $10, $20, and sometimes you receive something in return. For instance, one of my favorite bands that was just starting up decided to put their first album out there. They raised enough money to do the album, and by giving the $10, I got the album first before before they released it on iTunes, which was pretty exciting. So sometimes you get something in return. For me, it's about the cause itself. It relates really well to the mission and making a difference here. I want to see what cause they are supporting. I want to know what the grassroots work is that they're going to be doing, how that relates to their mission, and know that that money I'm giving is going to make a difference in return. Something I've heard as you compare baby boomers and the millennials is that we are both giving to a hospital. Let's say Chick and I both want to give to a hospital, and we're going to go to a banquet like this for the hospital giver. Chick, likely, would be wanting to hear from a vice president or president of the hospital, talking about their mission, talking about their history as an institution, and where they're going next, and a new and renewed vision. For me, I want to hear from a nurse. I want to hear from someone on the ground doing that work who can tell me those stories of what's happening day to day, because they've experienced it themselves. They have their hands dirty in the car. The history of that organization means a lot less to me, I think, than it does to Chick and other folks in his generation.
Before going on to this, because I kind of got ahead of myself and already said this, but I think, and this is Chick Lane Parish Pastor talking now, I think that Grace's comments about causes and the importance of cause and the importance of knowing is actually percolating up to my generation. And I'll talk more about this later, but more and more and more, I think people in my generation are starting to expect some of the same kinds of things that Grace talked about. So I talked about this already, got ahead of myself, giving through the congregation. I don't know what else to say other than what I said when I wasn't supposed to say it. So just imagine that I said that right now. And I think part of it, just to repeat that little piece of it, I think part of it, and a big part of it for me is, I want my congregation to look good. And so anything that I can do to help my congregation look good, I want to do that. And I don't care if I look good in the eyes of Cross, our food shelf. It's more important to me that Lord of Life looks good, and that we're perceived in the community to be a church that cares about people that need help.
So we've done this many times, and I have to say, I don't know that I've ever heard you articulate it that way, Chick, of the church getting credit. That's something I've never really even thought about before, so we might have to hash that out as we drive back to Logan Airport.
I'll be focusing on keeping us alive.
Yeah. That will be our comment. For me, it's more diverse giving patterns. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the church that I attended in downtown Minneapolis. And for them, they didn't have causes that our church supported directly. Instead, what they would do is they would invite people from the community at different times to represent these causes, and we gave direct gifts to them as parishioners. And I think that's because they know for us as millennials, who's mostly a young adult church, that idea of giving through the congregation and thinking about the credit, so to speak, it's just not something we were thinking about. It's not something bad, it's just something that hadn't really come to mind for us. I have a lot more diverse giving patterns. Between my husband and I, we have a lot of diverse giving patterns. That's been one of my realizations, being married for 2 years, is you also gain a whole other spectrum of places you'd like to give to. And so we're pretty diverse right now. We aren't at a place where we're giving a lot of big gifts. We're at a place where we give our big gifts to our congregation and some smaller gifts around to different other places that we care about. Especially related to the times that we're in right now and seeing things that are happening, we're giving to different causes than we had in the past, just to support places that seem to be in more need of help. Thank you, Chick.
It's all yours.
So now, we're going to talk about